If you're planning to study in the UK and you're confused about bank statements, like how you can make a bank statement, how to maintain it, what is 28 days rule, if you can use multiple bank statements, who can sponsor you, and what kind of bank statements can you use, stay tuned. We're going to talk about everything. And after this video, I'm 110% sure that you will have all the knowledge. You would not have to go to any other YouTube video. You would not have to go to any other website to search for the bank statements, because I will tell you about everything in this single video. So first thing first, what's a bank statement? When it comes to bank statement, according to gov.uk, bank statement is simply the financial requirement or the evidence that you have to show them that you have enough money to support yourself for next 9 months or next year. But definitely they calculated on 9 months, not 12 months. And now when it comes to supporting yourself, it's not about how you would eat, how would you communicate, how would you would live. It's not about that. It's about just two things. The first one, how would you pay rest of your fee, and how would you just like spend money on your basic needs, which is accommodation and definitely food. And definitely they have some simple guidelines on gov.uk website, which shows how much money you need in your account, and definitely for last 28 days, which we will absolutely talk about in the later part of the video, like what is 28 days rule. So first thing first, for you to understand, bank statement is the evidence of two things: for your fee and your living cost in the UK. If you combine these two things, definitely you will get your bank statement. Now, the second most important question is, how do you know how much bank statement you need and how much money you have to show to Home Office as a financial evidence? So when it comes to how much money do you need in your account to show Home Office that, yes, I have the required funds and I can support myself, that actually depends on just one factor. If you're choosing the university which is inside London, or you're choosing any other university which is outside London. So this is first important factor that you have to understand, because according to gov.uk, if you're going for a master's course, let's take example for the master's course. If you're applying for the university which is inside London, you need at least £1,334 a month for next 9 months. That's the first thing. And if you're going for any university which is outside London, that is £1,023 a month for next 9 months. So what you have to simply do is, if you're choosing any university which is inside London, just multiply 1,334 with 9, which comes up to £12,006 a year, like for definitely for 9 months. But if you're choosing any university which is not in London, which is outside London, so that would come up to £9,207 for a year. So that is the first part of the bank statement that you need to actually show. This is about your living. This is the living cost that you have to show. So as I told you, there are like two factors. The first one is the living cost. The second thing is definitely the fee, the university fee, how you can afford it. I will just summarize the first part as a living cost by saying, let's say like if you're choosing a university which is outside London, let's say like University of Bournemouth, you'd be needing £9,207 as an evidence of your living cost, like, you know, that you can support yourself. This is the living cost that, you know, you're gonna spend on yourself. If you're choosing any university which is inside London, let's say University of Kingston, then for the living cost, you'll have to show £12,006 for a year, which is like, definitely, if you just break it down, if you just divide it with 9 months, it's £1,334. In other cases, £1,203, like £1,023. This is the first part, like, of the bank statement. That's your living. Now you just have to add another thing, which is your fee. That's it. So if you combine your living cost and a fee, then you will get your bank statement. It's super simple and super easy. But now how would you see like how much university fee you have to pay, and you know, how would you just like add the university fee, like what would be the amount? So let's just jump into that. So let's say like if you're looking for a certain course, you have to go to the fee section and you will see the fee there. So let's say you'll take a very simple example. You have the course fee is £10,000. Normally it's just like starts from 13,000 and goes up to like 22,000. But let's just, for the example, let's take it. You chosen a course which is like the total fee is £10,000. University definitely take a deposit as well. So out of 10,000 full fee, during the admission process, university took your deposit, let's say like £3,000, university paid your deposit. You're left with £7,000. So all you have to do is if you're studying in any university which is inside London, you have to add that £7,000 into £12,006, like £12,006. If you're going to any university which is outside London, you have to add that same 7,000, like a remaining fee, into £9,207. And now you know, like, how did you get £9,207? That's definitely, like, you know, the living expense. So if you'll combine these two things, you will get your bank statement. So £19,006 or £16,207 is just like, I mean, like, not a final figure. It's just because we took example that we have a 10,000 fee and we paid 3,000 deposit. That's how we reached to 19,006 inside London and 16,207 outside London. What you have to do is, this is the most important thing, guys. You do not have to use Google Converter, currency converter, to see like how much amount would that be in your local, currency. You have to use Onada Converter. I'll just like put the link because this is the same converter that Home Office use. Like, you have to just go to that website and you have to convert your currency according to that. Now, another important thing, when you're looking for these two figures, so let's say like 19,006 or 16,207 in your local currency, never ever put the exact amount. You always have to go, I would recommend, have to just add £1,000 more because of currency fluctuation. So you don't want to be in a situation where your currency is going down or something is happening with the currency and your bank statement is coming down. So what you have to do is, to be on a safe side, put 1,000 more. So in this case, £19,006, just make it £20,006. And in case of 16,207, make it 17,207 to be on a safe side, because if it's short by even like £1, your visa will be rejected because you do not meet the financial requirements. So this is the most important thing. You have to make your bank statement a bit bigger than what is required. So coming towards the second part, like, what is this 28 days rule? I mean, like, that's mentioned on the gov.uk website, which actually looks very clear and very simple, but it's not very simple because a lot of times you just like, feel that we can't just understand this rule. But we all will tell you about it, and definitely we'll do some examples for you to know, like, how do we see these like 28 days rules. So let's solve that. So let's say, like, we will take a simple example to understand 28 days. So today's date is 29th, for example. I am here, let's say like June 29th right now. They will count my bank statement. They will just go back 28 days, okay? So from 29, I will count 28 days. So that'll be 28, 27, 26, like, you just go back. So the date, the bank statement should start from the 1st. Super simple. So you have to actually, it doesn't matter. Like, your bank statement can start from 30 and 31st of the last month as well. Like, because they say it should be from the 31 days, from last 31 days, but they will actually count 28 days backwards. So I'm just saying, like, if your date, today's date is 29th, they will count back, and your bank statement should ideally start from the 1st. But I will say, like, give it a leverage of like 2 days. Just start it from 30 or 31st of the next month, because they will just count last 28 days, okay? But remember, when they will count last 28 days, on the 1st, for example, in our case, because we're taking example, on the 1st, that will be the 28th day. On that 1st, your balance should be the balance that is required by the Home Office. So let's say like £19,006. Or if you're studying outside London, it should be around like 9,207. I'm so sorry, 16,207. So that's how they actually count. So for example, another example, just to make it clear, let's say like I'm submitting my application on 15th of June, for example, right? And my next 30 days would be 15th of July, right? So if I'm submitting my application 15th of July, I have full bank statement from 15th of June till 15th of July, somewhere in the middle, like, I'm just giving my visa application on 14th, let's say. They will count back from 15th, and somewhere on 17th of June would be my 28 day. So whatever bank statement is, the closing balance should be starting from that date. So let's like on 17th, I should have the required fund till today, till the time when I'm just like, giving my bank statement. Once your bank statement is submitted, you don't have to worry about the 28 days rules. So, oh my God, my decision took like 2 months, and it's been like 2 months. I haven't heard from the Home Office. What now? Because my 28 days are gone. No. When you actually file your application, you submit your application, and you have the bank statement for last 30, 31 days or 30 days, your actually 28 days rule start from there. It isn't like, it's been like 2 months, you haven't heard any response from the Home Office and your 28 days are gone. So you're not sure, like, how your bank statement will be. I mean, like, if we count 28 days backwards, you just like, put some more money, or you just like took out some more money. But the good thing is, and the most important thing is, you have to actually maintain the amount until you get the decision. Please do not take out the amount just in case, or if you have just like, more than like way more than required funds, then you can just like use it as a regular account. I'm talking about those people who actually try to maintain the funds and they're not sure like if they should take out the amount. So please do not take out the amount if you're just like really tight on the bank statement. You have to get the visa first, and then you can do anything about it. So that's how you calculate the 28 days rule. I'm pretty sure like now you know about it. If there is any problem, you can still ask me and I'll talk about this. Now, the third important topic is if you can use 2 bank statements. This is the most important thing. Like, a lot of people are confused. The reason is, a lot of agents, they tell you you cannot use 2 bank statements, or it is better to use one single bank statement. Ask your father to transfer all the funds in your mother's account and show one bank statement, or ask anyone to just like, definitely your parents, one of your parents, to just like transfer the amount. This is not the case, to be very honest. For the bank statement, if you're showing funds, you can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bank statements. And if you're just like, satisfying the financial requirements, you should be getting the visa. I do not remember anyone getting a refusal on the visa just because he's using 2 or 3 bank statements. This is not the case. It could actually be like 2 bank statements. It could be 2 bank statements from 2 different banks. That is absolutely fine. It could be 2 bank statements from both of your parents, from your father and from your mother, and combinedly, like, you're reaching to the financial requirement of the Home Office. But just keep this thing in mind, that if you're using your both parents, let's say like your father and your mother's bank statement, you have to now add 2 affidavits which says they are willing to sponsor you. They're willing to just like, give their money to you for your education, so you can just like live here, or you can support yourself and everything. So when you just submit a bank statement with one parent, let's say like from father, normally you have to just submit one affidavit which says like, yeah, I'm sponsoring this amount to my kid and he's gonna go and study and everything is fine. But when you add, let's say like another parent, now you'll be needing 2 affidavits, because there are 2 account holders and there are 2 people who own that money actually. So I hope that clarifies if you can use 2 bank statements. Now the third important thing, what sort of bank accounts or the financial evidences you can use to support your student visa application. One of the most important thing when you're giving your bank statement or you're submitting your bank statement is that the control of funds should be in your hand, or in your parents' hand, or in your partner's hand, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of people, they try to show a bank statement which is from an investment bank, and there is a lock-in or a contractual period. So let's say like I'm investing 4 million in a company or like with a bank in some project, right? And I'm showing the bank statement that I have these many funds, but the bank statement letter shows there is a contract for 3 years or 4 years, which means you do not have the control of those funds, because in those 3 years or 4 years, you're actually just, attaching your things or your money with the bank. That means you do not have the control of those funds. Simply, you cannot use that bank statement if you do not have any control of your fund. There is a lock-in period, there is a contractual period. You cannot take that money out, and if you cannot just use that money whenever you want, those sort of bank statements will not be accepted. So make sure when you're submitting an investment account, let's say you're just like investing with a bank, the maintenance letter does not show any lock-in period. Anything which says like there's a 3 years contract, or you have invested the amount for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, that means you do not have the direct control of that funds or those funds. Definitely that bank statement would not be accepted. If you're using your own money, as gov.uk says, you can use certain type of accounts, which is current account, a deposit account, saving accounts. You can use pension saving account and investment account as well. But I did explain, if you're submitting investment account, please make sure on your bank statement letter or like bank maintenance letter, it does not say there is a contractual period or there is some sort of like a lock-in period. Otherwise, these accounts are like simple accounts. You can just rely on these and you can just you use this money. You should just have the immediate access to your funds. That's all they need. According to gov.uk, it could actually be your money, like the money that you have here in your bank account. It could be your parents' money, that's definitely in your parents' bank account. It could be in your partner's bank account. But remember, there is a condition. If it's your partner's money, your partner should be coming with you on the visa, like as independent, or he should be already here in the UK. Now, two more things. You can actually rely on official financial sponsors, and you can actually rely on student loans as well, but that should be actually from the registered government, the company, if you're just taking a loan, or it should be a government organization, and that should also be mentioned on your CAS, which is a confirmation of acceptance. Now, what sort of evidence are not accepted? Again, that's mentioned on the gov.uk website, that overdrafts are not accepted. Let's say like I have like money in my overdrafts. No, you cannot rely on that. You cannot do any cryptocurrency like Bitcoins. You cannot do stocks and shares because shares can go down, and you cannot rely on that money actually. You cannot rely on your pensions as well, because again, that's not a permanent source of income. Like if it's a permanent source of income, that's not something that you can rely on. Any bank account which is not regulated by your government, which means like there are some microfinancing banks, but they're not recognized on a broader level. And bank accounts that do not have electronic record keeping, which means they're still using the old method of just like writing things in registers, maybe something like that. But if they do not have the digital presence, they do not have electronic presence, you cannot rely on those funds. Now, a very important thing when you're showing your bank statement, what are the most important things which should be mentioned on the letter? So again, I'll give you the reference from gov.uk website. They actually say you can actually submit a bank statement or a letter from your bank, which is like a maintenance letter. You can submit a certificate of deposits, and you can submit building society passbooks. But the most easiest way is the bank statement and definitely the maintenance letter. Remember this thing in your mind. You do not have to get those letters signed or stamped from the bank. It could be the downloaded version as well. You can simply download your bank statement. You can submit it in PDF, but the only requirement is it should be verifiable. So if they call your bank and they ask about the money and everything, they should be able to verify it. Otherwise, if you just like get it stamped, you just have multiple stamps, you have multiple signs and everything. But if your bank statement is not verifiable, you will not get your visa. It's simple as that. So you do not have to get it signed, you do not have to get it stamped, you don't have to just like go to the bank, book appointment to get it signed, and just like put yourself in a lot of hassle. Just download a PDF copy of your bank statement and you can submit it. Or for the bank statement letter, you just simply need a letter. It shouldn't be just like signed. In my case, when I submitted the bank statement or the bank maintenance letter, that letter said this is the electronic copy, which does not require any signatures or anything, and that was accepted by the Home Office. So they actually say it on the website as well. But there are a few things which should be mentioned on your maintenance letter or your bank statement. The date it was issued. So the date is very important. Your name on the bank account, which again is really important. Like, if you're submitting your bank account statement or your parents' statement or your partner's statement, their name should be mentioned on the letter, the name of the bank and the building society, without which they would not be able to verify what bank it is, what financial institution is this, and the balance on the account, which is the most important thing, which is ultimately the main requirement. So these four things are really important, which is again mentioned on the website. They do not say it should be signed or stamped, but if any of these things are missing, they would not be able to verify your bank statement. Super simple. They would not be able to identify you or your bank or the amount you have in the bank, and simply they can refuse your visa on this silly thing. So do not make this silly mistake when you're applying for the student visa in the UK. In the final few things, this is very important. Like, this whole process is for you, like for one person, for individual. But what if you're applying with your wife? What if you have kids? So again, we will refer back to gov.uk website. Now, if you're applying with your, as a dependent, or you are the main applicant and your wife is dependent, or maybe like you have one kid who's dependent on you and you're applying for their visa as well. Now your bank statement will be a bit bigger than the other ones, like someone who is just like applying for himself only. So again, referring back to gov.uk website, it says that a student dependent must also show funds of 845 for each month of your leave if you're studying in London. So if you're going to any university which is in London, again, you will simply add 845 into 9 months, right? And the collective amount should be added into 19,006 pounds. If you're going to any university which is outside London, you have to show 680 pounds every month for 9 months. And that's definitely like you'll have to add that big amount into 16,207. That's the collective, and that's for each dependent, not a collective amount. So like it's not for my wife and the kid. It's simply for my wife. If I'll have to just like apply for the visa like for my wife and for my kid as well, so 845 will be 845 into 2, because now you have 2 dependents. So remember this thing when you're applying for a bank statement. So now your bank statement will be a bit bigger than someone who is applying for himself alone. I will give you some final tips about your bank statements. So when should you start making your bank statement? That's the most important thing. As soon as you start applying for the university process, like the admission process, you should start making your bank statement, because in the first stage, universities, they usually ask you for your your degrees and everything, your qualifications, your reference letters, and maybe like the statement of purpose, which we call it like SOP. And after that, definitely the next stage is a deposit and the bank statement. So once they actually verify all your documents, everything, they feel like, yeah, you're a legitimate student, and if you have had a gap year, that's been justified as well. So yeah, they will ask you for 2 things. One is the bank statement, that's the evidence of financials, definitely, and the second thing is the deposit. So universities, that definitely have different rules and regulations. So let's say like some university, they charge you £3,000, but some universities, they ask you for £6,000 deposit. So but it's good, like even if, let's say university is asking me like £10,000 in full fee, and they're asking me for £3,000 deposit, but I submit £5,000. So all I'm left with is £5,000 and the living cost in the UK that I have to show in my bank statements. That's it. So you can always give more money in terms of deposit. Just like in my case, my university asked me to pay £3,000, but I paid £7,000 in deposits. So I can just just add rest of the amount from my fee and my living cost, and I just showed my bank statement. So that's so simple. But what I'm saying is you have to actually start working on your bank statement as soon as you apply for the university, if all your documents are in place, if you have right documents and everything. So as soon as they're done with the normal checks, like the initial checks, they will ask you for the deposits and the bank statement. So you're all good to go. You can simply just take out the PDF version, you can just submit it. Now, second important question, when it comes to just the final parts, is it like the thing, like you have to submit another bank statement when you're applying for the visa? There is a possibility, because right now in 2022, there are a lot of delays in getting appointments. So there is a possibility while applying for my university admission, I submitted one bank statement which started from certain date, ended on certain date, but during the whole process while applying for the VFS appointment and everything, I got a delay of like month and a half. You cannot actually use that same bank statement that you submitted to the university to the home office for visa purposes. So you have to just take out another fresh bank statement, and you have to actually show it for last 31 days, because they will count last 28 days from the day the visa application was received. And again, from that, on that 28th day, that should have your bank statement should have the required funds. So there is a possibility you have to submit a new bank statement, right, for the visa purposes. That's all I can think about bank statement. If you have any other question, you can just post in the comments, and I'm pretty sure that I'll answer you as quickly as possible. I don't feel I have left anything or I missed anything apart from the student loans and sponsorship, which is very simple. Like if you have student loans, if you have a sponsorship, it should be just registered, and university should know about it, because you have to tell your university, I'm relying on loans and I'm relying on the government sponsorship, and they do the rest. They actually guide you how to get the information from them, because university, they do the checks, and they check if the loan is from the registered company and it's a government sponsorship or everything. They do the rest of the checks, and they will just like, do the whole process for you, and they guide you further about it, because that's a different process. Apart from that, when it's about like bank statement, I don't feel like I have left anything, but yeah, you are more than welcome to send your questions in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you with that. Well, see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.